Okay. Greetings. What's up? It's Deborah. I'm very honored to be here with Kris Hughes. And Kris, welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Excited to be here. Looking forward to it. My name is Kris Hughes. I'm a content marketing and strategy consultant here in Austin, Texas. I've worked in the content marketing world, digital content marketing, content strategy, kind of managing freelancers, doing a wide variety of things over the last decade. And I'm currently working for a few companies here in Austin along those lines, and also building out my own content consulting business as well, content marketing and strategy consulting business as well on the side. So,
Wow, sounds like you're really busy.
yeah, no time off, but that's all right. No complaints.
No complaints at all. I mean, especially in this situation we're in now, where a lot of people are looking for employment, so it's good to stay busy.
Sure.
If you could, if you could rank your top 3 superpowers in terms of what services you actually provide, what would they be?
I think content strategy for emerging companies is the big one. A lot of times, and also this is true for content creators and bloggers who have kind of stood up a blog but are looking to take that next step and take it from kind of creating some content, getting that incremental traffic to blowing it up and taking it to the next level. So I think a lot of times there's that initial surge of activity where you're really excited and you're getting that initial traffic and you're building things up, and then you hit a wall. And it's kind of like, where do I go from here? And so I think having a good centralized content strategy helps you to take that forward and really develop that and turn it into traffic which you can monetize and make a business out of. So I think that's a big part of what I work on. I also work a lot on affiliate marketing and email marketing for companies and helping them really monetize, a service or a product. So I've got a couple projects in the works there. And I've done due diligence a lot for like venture capital companies or other networks that are looking to acquire new websites. So digging into those sites and figuring out, what are good opportunities for those companies to do acquisitions and to take on, basically new properties under their umbrella. So I've done a variety of those 3 things.
Wow. So content marketing strategy for emerging entrepreneurs and businesses. Affiliate and email marketing.
Yeah.
Property acquisition consulting?
Yeah, kind of due diligence and property acquisition, yeah.
Wow, that's varied. So you're a man of many talents. I'm looking forward to learning with everyone here today from you. Tell me a little bit about I know you had told me a little bit about your current wins since you had started using LinkedIn to, doing consistent content marketing on LinkedIn. So could you tell us a little bit about some of the things that have happened for you for your first month or 2 doing that?
Sure. So, I'd always kind of used LinkedIn as how I think most people use it. It's just kind of an online resume and a place to apply for jobs when you're between jobs. But kind of the more I started to watch and read, I noticed that people were using it in a different way. I kind of stumbled upon a few people that were using it as a content platform and really creating content there and making it their primary content platform. And first off, started to watch some people and just see what they were doing. And then like anything else, you're just trying to mimic what you see. So kind of starting in June, I decided I'd try an experiment and really have posted at least once a day since then. And I had 25,000 views the first month. We've already had 25,000 this month. So I think it's just finding what works for you and what your voice is and being consistent is great. But it's not just about posting and kind of yelling into the void. I think the other big part of it is interacting and engaging with people. And that's more important. Ultimately, you're not going to get the engagement yourself unless you provide the engagement going out. So from building community and building, being consistent with engagement first and foremost.
So I like this. This is probably our first nugget is, you're to get the engagement that you want continuously, you also have to give that engagement. It's not something where you, one of my mentors says, post and run, like put the post up and then disappear off the platform. That doesn't really work for continuous engagement.
No, and I look at it this way, like first thing in the morning, when I first sit down at the computer, I go through, especially the recent feed on LinkedIn. I think a great tip for people is you can, if up in the upper right corner, you can toggle between top and recent. Top are the posts that everybody's kind of commented on that are getting a lot of traction on LinkedIn that they're pushing. The recent, are the people that you're following and what they've published, more recently. So I use recent, and I go in every morning and I comment on at least 5 posts of people that I'm following on the recent feed. What I've been told and what I've seen is that if you do that and you really add value on those comments, you don't just go in and say, this is a great, it's a great point, good point, I agree 100%, whatever, but you really add some value to that and give your feedback or your take on what the author of the post is talking about. If you do at least 5 of those before you post your post for the day, it's kind of showing LinkedIn, look at this person, he's engaging, he's providing to the community, and you're playing with the algorithm a little bit. And in doing that, they're naturally going to give you that engagement back when you do actually publish your post. So wow. I think they work in, hand in hand that way.
Yeah. So basically, this is a great tip here, is to start with engagement and then put your own content on. Right. So that you're telling LinkedIn, yeah, I'm actually playing the game. I'm actually engaging. I'm really using the platform for what it's now designed for. We know that back in the day, it used to feel more like a stuffy old boardroom, but now they put the social back into it. So now it's really encouraging organic engagement. So that's excellent.
Yeah, and I think that's just a good habit, a good practice to follow. And 5 is a minimum. I mean, if you can do more than that and it's natural, do it. I like to spend at least 30 minutes, an hour just doing that to get the day started.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that is so intentional. And I think when we go on social media platforms, not intentionally, but we tend to be like tunnel vision and be like, okay, what is it that I'm here to do for me and for my business? Yeah. But in truth, we would never do that in a networking setting, right? We would never go and just be like, well, I mean, if we have any kind of professionalism, we would never go and just be like, here's my business card, here's my business card, here's my business card. Like we would
turn people off if you did,
Yeah. We would actually, go meet the person, find out a little bit about them, talk with them, find more about them before we say what we want to do or, whatever. Even if we start the conversation, we don't just end the conversation after we're done talking. We would also listen to them. And I think this lesson just keeps getting, repeated to me is like treat social media, the way you interact and you network professionally should not be different online than it is offline. So, this whole concept of, connecting with somebody and then spamming them with 100 offers or like these, I get some really creative ones and I'm still like, dude, I still know this is just an extended sales pitch and I don't know anything about me. You don't know anything about me. I mean, I don't know anything about you. You don't know anything about me. Yeah. And I'm not going to choose you. Like, just, you're not top of mind for me. So it's really, truly understanding that these principles apply exactly the same online as they do offline. We're still humans. Just because we have a computer network in between us doesn't change the way that humans think and behave. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and the cold pitches right out of the gate are crazy to me. Where somebody sends you a connection request, you accept it, they immediately pitch you their product or service. Bye. Like, thanks for connecting, but I just can't imagine in a million years that works.
Yeah, and the people for whom it does work often probably are not your ideal. Sorry. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, we had a little bit of a cutoff.
Yeah.
What did you just say?
No, yeah, that's just the authenticity of it is just, it's not there for those types of cold pitches. So.
Yeah, and I found honestly that I almost never have to pitch anymore at all, even with someone who's warm, because usually if you actually take the time to have the conversation with the person, it's very simple to see whether they can even use what you have or not. And then, either the conversation happens or it doesn't happen, but it never has to be something where I'm like out of the blue, like, by the way, do you want to buy this thing? So. So tell me, just a little bit, because we always hear this saying about giving value and making our content easy to consume.
Sure.
And I think we all have different ideas. And I mean, obviously there's some marketing, basics that apply across the board.
Right.
But particularly when it comes to our posts, can you share with us what would be something that you would say is like the next level down in terms of understanding what is truly a valuable post that's easy to consume?
Yeah, I think it goes back. You'll see this, what I call broetry. You'll see this format a lot on LinkedIn, where there are kind of these, single lines, and you're walk through a post line by line, and these authors are taking full advantage of the 210 character limit or whatever it is, but it's line by line, single lines. Those are there because it works. I don't like it particularly, but in most of my posts I've patterned that way because the psychology behind it is it's easy to read, right? Like I'm leading you to the next point, a little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you can experiment with writing in paragraphs, but I think the risk run when you write normally, like you would on a normal content piece, like on a blog or something like that, is you lose people in the midst of those paragraphs. Maybe they're just you're not flowing with what they want out of the content. So they just jump off. So I think it's really kind of that kick push. Like you want to have, copywriting wise, you want to have that good first sentence which grabs people's attention. I always use an emoji at the start of my first sentences. Part of something else I was told by another person that posts pretty often on LinkedIn is that grabs attention when you're scrolling through the feed because everybody's just writing normal sentences. If you have an emoji there, it just stops you for long enough to read that first sentence. So that's kind of the first attention grabber. So the kick is that first headline, copywriting wise, the first sentence. The second is the push, like, here's what I'm going to talk about. Here's why you should read it. Look down for the rest of the post. So I always use the downward pointing emoji also on my second line. Just like look down here. That's where people see more, and then it opens up the full post. I've used that pattern for like a month, and it seems to be working pretty well. So I think it's just that pattern of single sentences and, bullet point stuff out, I think is big too. When you're explaining a concept, break it down into bullet points. It's easily digestible and consumable. Just speaking simple language, write like you talk. That's something I have to remind myself a lot, when I'm writing, but I think, it's just keeping it simple and easily digestible. But that kind of broetry format works. You'll see a lot of people using it. I'm going to experiment with some other things next month because honestly, I'm kind of bored with it. I want to see what else can work. But it's silly, but it works.
Yeah. I on this topic of easy to consume, I love what you said about bullets, because I remember I used to hate writing posts because I'd be like, oh, I have to come up because I'm still thinking of like how I wrote when I was in college. College, you have all these essays, or even in engineering, which one would think you wouldn't have to write so much, but heaven forbid you don't have, these long sentences and paragraphs and sound intelligent
right.
reports. You still get egg on your face. So I've been so conditioned to write in paragraph form and not necessarily use big words, but, just kind of sound like I went to school. Like I didn't just, come off the street. And so what happened, it was really challenging for me to get out. Like my posts used to be like dissertations. They used to be so long. Like every time I had a post, on Facebook, you click on the see more and it would open a new page. That's how you know it's a long post. When you click on the see more and a whole new tab opens, that's a long post.
Had that notes feature for a while that was basically write as long as you wanted. I don't think anybody ever really used it, so they killed it. But it's interesting.
Yeah, so when I started noticing that because I started journaling, I was not journaling and I wanted to journal more, but I was so same thing. I was like, I don't want to journal. It's going to take forever. It's going to be this deep, heavy thing. So then I just said, okay, I'm just going to write down these points in my journal. And I was like, ooh, hey, I could just leave that like that because I know what it is now, right? So I started journaling in bullets. And boom, I started writing my post in bullets saying I was going to go fill it up later. And then I was like, why am I filling it out? It's good. Let's leave it like that. And it was like I kind of stumbled upon the bullet points, and I'm so glad I did. Sorry to belabor that point, but I just felt very passionately about it. And also, one of the things I always encourage people to, like you said, is to write like you speak, and not try to be super, sounding quote unquote educated in the way that you speak. If that's not your normal voice and tone, if it is your natural voice and tone, then go for it. Right. So that's the part about being easily consumable. I think I remember you saying something though, and you might not even remember now. I don't remember about the what constitutes value. Like when you're looking to create a value post, what do you look at?
Yeah, and my post splits also, just to add in on this. Like if I post once a day, every day, and I can talk a little bit more as to why eventually. But think of like 70-20-10, right? So 7 of every 10 posts you want to be like value-driven posts where you're giving away information selflessly based on your knowledge, something or you read an article and you distill that down and you kind of teach, about that article to your followers. 20% are kind of more personal. So something, about an obstacle you've overcome or, a challenge you've encountered personally, what you feel like would be interesting to your audience. And then like that 1 of every 10 is just flagrantly self-promotional, right? Here's what I do. Here it is. I'm going to put it out there. Honestly, those don't tend to perform pretty well, but if you don't do it, no one's not, typically going to know unless they're coming to you directly and messaging you. So that's kind of a split that I work off of. But what I've seen is just speaking from your own knowledge and just giving away what you've encountered, because in your own mind, you might think, oh, well, it's this imposter syndrome thing. I don't have a lot to offer. Maybe this isn't going to be interesting to anybody. But then when you put it out there, you'll be surprised on how people react. So you're just speaking from that experience. Feedly is an awesome tool to use. It's kind of an old school RSS reader, but it's a Chrome extension. And you can pull in a bunch of articles from different topics. So I pull them in from like SEO, social media, content marketing, writing, whatever. And I just go in there in the morning. I look at headlines. What are these headlines? And then click on a few articles and just read. And maybe for that day's post, I'm just going to distill an article that I've read. Especially valuable if you've got writer's block. And something's not coming to mind right off, just distill another article, because it's something that somebody may not be able to find on their own, or they may not run across, but they'll still get value from that information. So I think it's a combination of those things, of just being willing to distill and kind of take complex topics down and simplify them, but also speak from your own experience. So it's just a combination of those two really are most of what I do, like value-driven posts.
Yeah, I love this. I love this because, I'm always saying this to people, but I'm not a content marketer. I'm not a marketer by, expertise. So it's nice to feel like to have that validated by someone who is, that a lot of what is valuable for other people is just you sharing your experience. And if you can do it in a way that's real and authentic and natural, that other people will appreciate that and they'll feel that. And it's really weird how the human, how we work. It's like people can tell when you're being real and you're just saying how you're feeling and what you've experienced and sharing what you know, and they respond to that really well. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, I think it's the right approach. I mean, you've got to be honest, you've got to be authentic, because ultimately the people you want to work with, you want to share those values. I mean, if those values are offset, it's not going to be a good working relationship. So the self that you show on LinkedIn should be the self that you are when you're working with somebody, when you're working with a client. I mean, there shouldn't be any differentiation there. And like you said, it's real obvious, especially on that platform, to see where there's a disconnect sometimes. So, you don't want to be one of those people where there's a disconnect.
Yeah. So this actually brings me to the next part of what I wanted to ask you, which is about how you gauge effectiveness.
Sure.
So there's lots of different theories on this that I've heard. Wanted to get your thoughts, because I really liked what you said when we talked earlier about, how you test or how you tweak to improve effectiveness. And I want you to share, hopefully, with us today what your approach is to that.
Yeah, so I think starting out these first few months, especially the first month, I was just thinking views. Just get as many views as possible. Because ultimately, no one knows who you are. You just want to get as many views as you can. Might be a little bit more clickbaity when you do that, to just get people to click and see who you are, just get views. But then once you've gotten the views and you're starting to kind of build a little bit of a tribe and build people that you can tell are following with, your content, interacting with it consistently, then you're working toward engagement. So the content that you're sharing is more about engagement and writing to those people. So I think that's the big difference. In the early going, you can determine what that time frame is for you. Just try to grab views and just get comfortable. You're going to be nervous posting it at first. You got to get over the nerves of doing it and put yourself out there. Wondering who's going to see it and what they're going to think about it. But just drive as many views as you can. And then as you start to understand where those views are coming from and who people are, then you can start to work on engagement. And testing with hashtags and stuff like that. I'll preface this by saying I'm not an affiliate for these guys, but I think they're awesome. And if you're really serious about LinkedIn, you should check out Shield. So it's shieldapp.ai, Shield Intelligence. They're a company that's based in Norway. They're the gold standard for LinkedIn analytics. It's awesome. They break down, the views that you're getting, the engagement rate that you're getting, percentage on your posts, likes, comments. You can go in there. You can tag all the different elements. So, like on all my posts, I tag what time I posted, which hashtags I used, what type of post it was. Whether or not it trends on LinkedIn, and then you can start to filter by those tags. So you just click on a tag and it pulls back all the posts for that tag. So you can see, okay, these hashtags are working for me. This time of day generally is working for me. This type of content, whether it's like a text post or a video or a slide deck, is working for me. So then you can start to tweak and do like week blocks if I'm just going to do this thing and see if it really works. And then if it doesn't, we tweak it again and do it another week of this thing. But Shield's awesome. And Andreas Janssen, their founder, is golden to follow on LinkedIn. I think he provides the best tips of anybody I've seen on how to really take advantage of it. Gotta check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe afterwards you can put in the comments the link to Shield so we can definitely, everyone can check it out.
Yeah, I got a free trial and their yearly is not much. It's worth it. So yeah, thank you. And I definitely so I signed up for the free trial, but I've yet to actually do. But that I know that this is something I'm going to be doing over the next week is digging into their analytics. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the other thing I wanted to ask about, and you sort of touched on it a little bit, but was like when to look for what. So, we know there's value to views, we know there's value to likes, we know there's value to comments, and we know there's value to messages. Right. But how do you know, okay, I really want to get, a lot of comments on this post, or I really want to get a lot of likes. And I know you touched on it a little bit, but could you go a little bit more into that as to your philosophy on that? Sure.
I think, once you're kind of getting consistent views, you'll hit a point where you know about what you're going to get on the post no matter what, as long as you're posting it. LinkedIn likes consistency. So as long as you're pretty much posting at the same time every day, you're using similar hashtags every day, you're going to get a pretty dependable amount of views on each post. So once you get there, it's kind of moving then to, I'm going to shape this post specifically to get people to talk, to comment and to interact. So I think a good thing to think about for those types of posts is to end with a question, maybe lead with a question where you're like asking, what do you think about this scenario? Then you explain it from your mindset, and then you end it with something as simple as like agree ? Chaya Gutnick is another great person to follow on LinkedIn, and she does this extremely well, where she ends with a question mark and engagement on her posts blow up immediately. So it's just getting people to give their responses and chime into the conversation, I think, is the way that you really generate comments. And the likes and the reactions are going to come just based on how people feel about the posts. That's a little less controllable, but the comments are more controllable if you're leading with a question, you're trying to get people to interact. One of my more popular posts weekly is my Sunday shout-out posts that I do. And I fell upon this by accident, the old Follow Friday on Twitter, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with, where you would just tag a bunch of people, tag a bunch of people on Twitter on Fridays and get them to follow you. You'd follow them. I mean, it was kind of back in the early days of Twitter, everybody was doing that. So I thought I'll just tweak that and I'll try like a Sunday shout out for LinkedIn. So what I do every Sunday is just tag 9 people that I follow, write in a post, just name tag them, give a short explanation of why you should follow them. And, just say, who else should we be following, and tag those people in the comment thread. So what will happen is everybody that I tag comes in, they thank me for tagging them. They kind of give everybody that's interacting in the thread more people to follow. So more people are tagged, more people come in, and it just builds on itself. Those usually get about 3,000 or 4,000 views. So I think that that's a great way to show appreciation to people you're following. Like, I really appreciate you and what you're providing, and I value our relationship. And, it's just a great way to kind of start to interact with that tribe as you're building it. I've had people now come to me and say, are you going to add me in your next one? I'm looking forward to your next one, like in DMs and stuff like that. So, they're helping me build my list and make it easier for the next ones.
That's amazing. I will say I really appreciated a couple of weeks ago when you mentioned me in your Sunday shout out, and like almost immediately I had like a dozen people, connect with me over the next day. And I was like, wow, I mean, I was surprised. And there were some people who followed me but didn't ask to connect. But it was really nice to see how quickly and how effective that is, because that is like true reciprocity right there. Because what you've done is you've built value in for all the people that you mentioned, plus all the people who see who you mentioned, who can then go follow them. Like you introduced me to Daryl. I can't remember. Yeah, and I'm loving his content. So and you also introduced me to Andreas, who's the founder of Self, although that wasn't in that particular Sunday shout out. But the point is, like, that is like the ultimate type of reciprocity kind of post that really truly is a win-win-win for every involved party. And I love that kind of thing. I'm so for win-win-win situations and creating those types of environments. And I'm so, excited to see that. And I was like, it's so funny because I see so many brilliant things on LinkedIn and I'm like, if I do that, do I look like I just copied them? It's so funny because everyone's copying everything.
I mean, everybody should do one, for real. Do it once a week. It's not hard. It takes 10 minutes to put together, 15 minutes to put together. Just be honest about why you value people and tag them, and do it at a predictable time on the same day every week. And it works. It's easy.
I love it. I really do. I really do love it. And I do appreciate you. So I'm going to look and see if there's any questions in the comments.
Sure.
I see Joanna just said, I do 25 comments a day. It's a game changer. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah.
I more power to you. I have to practice this because I do comment every day on other people's posts, but it's not 25. I'll tell you, like, if I do like 5 or 6, I'm like, whew, I did good, because I am a person who I always I think deeply and I'm reading. And of course, a lot of people I follow are always posting articles. I'm like, dude, could you just post like a 10-line post, but no, I got to go read the article and then So it's not as boom, boom, boom for me to just go, especially because I want to give meaningful, responses back. Of course, I have tons of thanks, smiley face emoji. But I try my best to be a little bit more engaged. But I think the tips that you've given us today are amazing. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap?
The big one is everybody wants to know how often they should post. I really would encourage once a day. I talked to a couple of people here in Austin who have been doing this for a long time, and there's been studies done that on the second post of the day, the second post within 24 hours, you have to get 3 times as much engagement to get the same number of views on the second post. On the third post, LinkedIn actively squashes the posts. They don't provide a lot of engagement to it because they want more diversity of voices on the platform. And they start to see you as trying to game the algorithm if you're posting more than one time a day. Ultimately, 2 times a day is okay. 3 times a day, you're starting to get into rough territory. So something to think about, experiment. That's just what I've heard. I mean, I've done 2 posts a day and it's been fine, but a lot of people that I respect and that I'm patterning after do just post once a day. So I think that's a good 30-day experiment at a minimum, see how it works for you.
Yeah, I was surprised yesterday. You must be really a superstar because I had done 2 posts and then I was like, oh man, I didn't post the thing with Kris. So I posted it. That was my 3rd post yesterday. And that had the highest views in like the first hour. I had already gotten like 200 views.
It's not perfect science, but just, something that I've heard. Who knows? So, I mean, finding out your sweet spot, what works for you. I mean,
well, I think it was that I tagged the superstar, so then there was a whole bunch of activity on that. So it's like, if you're going to do a second post, make sure you're tagging somebody who's awesome like Kris Hughes, and then you'll get more views on your post. No, but in all seriousness, how can we can you put your profile or how we can follow you or like catch your content? Because I'm sure there's so much more goodness that you can share with people if they follow you.
Yeah, sure. LinkedIn is the best place. I mean, I blog semi-occasionally on my company blog, but more often than not, just follow me on LinkedIn. So it's just /n/Kris Hughes. Yeah, just follow me there. I always like to follow people back and engage, and yeah, just happy to build relationships and continue to build, and excited to see what everybody else does and how they grow.
Awesome. So I think there's 3 things that maybe afterwards we can drop in the comments, which is your LinkedIn profile, stealth. Not stealth. What's the name of the program?
Yeah, Shield.
Shield. Mm-hmm. Shield website, and your, I think it was Feedly, you said?
Yeah, Feedly. Yeah, Feedly. Awesome extension.
Yeah, those are some really great resources that everyone can use, and yeah, I'm really, really grateful that you've taken the time to talk with us today, to share your wisdom and your insights.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And yeah, if anybody ever wants to hit me up on LinkedIn, I'm happy to help anybody that has questions, or just send me a message. Always checking them.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. So we're going to sign off for today. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.